Hi, this is Brian Ward from Shout Factory, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the third annual GCRN Awards. Yes, that's right. The Geekcast Radio Network here on Geekcast Radio episode 90.5 presents the GCRN Awards. And your hosts are Stephen C. Phillips, MovieRevolt Dan, and TFG1 Mike.
Okay, that was lame. Now, on to the awards.
Hello and welcome to the third annual Geekcast Radio Network Awards. I am one of your hosts, TFG1 Mike, and joining me is MovieRevolt Dan. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. And we're going to turn it over to the award presenter of... Wait, what?
The ghost with the most?
Don't you mean the host with the most, not the ghost with the most?
I did that on purpose.
You're no Starscream. You're Megatron. Come on, man. Megatron was never a ghost, to my knowledge. Well, he kind of was in the Zombie Prime episode. Anyway, you really screwed this all up for me. So turning it...
I do that.
Yeah, I know. Now shut up already. So we are going to be turning it over to the host with the most, Steve Megatron, to talk to us about the process of the third annual GCRN Awards. We've been doing this 3 years in a row, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot believe we've been doing this thing for 3 years at this point. What was the process for this year, and how is it different from last year, if any differences were there?
There weren't really a lot of differences other than the fact that the choices in like some of the bottom end categories were swapped around a little bit. Like we got rid of like some of the network stuff and changed it to like favorite, specific podcast or YouTube channel or YouTube series or review podcast or specific things like that to kind of, because we're already in a network, being that this year we're in Blog Talk Radio.
Right.
So it kind of was suggested that it would be better to not more so do that. And then, again, it was open entry. Everybody entered in their choices, and then it got narrowed down to the top 5 most selected things. Which from there, after a couple of weeks of having it set up like that, I had to go through the fun process of entering them all into the drop downs of the top 5s, which I still think that this worked better than the first year where we did it, and it were actual polls, and you had to submit each one and wait for that one to finish, so it's all one form. I just like it better like that. There might be a slight tweak to it next year. It just kind of depends. But this year, I definitely saw a massive increase in the amount of people that voted. So and the choices were unlike last year. I mean, again, some of the more popular things are going to show up pretty heavily in that category. Whatever it may be. Some of the things were surprising, I will say, and then some of them were not so surprising. I think it'll get obvious when we get to that point.
Why don't you give us the category rundown as far as from top to bottom what the categories are?
Well, we had, for like TV, we had drama, comedy, sci-fi, action-adventure, new show, returning, and then cartoons, we had new, and then returning. And then there were best new release for video game, console, the best console, basically. Then it went into comics with best storyline, new series, continuing series, artist, writer, publisher. And then we get into the film side of things, where we go best performance, animated film, comic book film overall, special effects, drama, comedy, sci-fi, action, adventure. And then we get into some of the Geekcast radio related stuff with the core podcast, the review podcast, the partner, the special events, such as this type of setup. And then we had the stuff that's not in our wheelhouse. The favorite review podcasts / video casts. Same thing for this was review, and then there were favorite podcast video casts as a separate next to that, and favorite YouTube channel and YouTube series, which are again different. So yeah, that was the complete rundown. Again, we may tweak some of the categories next year. It just kind of depends. It's just
Dan, what?
there were a lot of votes.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, before I ask Dan the question, I was going to ask him, how many votes total did we get?
Come back to me.
Okay. Dan, what was your process in filling out your ballot to submit for voting?
Well, I just, went with what I felt were the best choices. When I was just doing the initial ones, it was a little bit easier because you had a huge variety of whatever you felt was best. But once we actually got down to the nitty gritty, the specific choices, I just went with ones I felt were the strongest and best represented, their selected categories. I did try to spread out the love, so I didn't give like one TV show all the awards, or I didn't vote for one movie in every category when I voted. But that's about it. I didn't really, it was pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. For me, when it came to the movie stuff, I voted on movies I saw. I don't remember doing the male or female performance categories, and I don't know. I just don't pay attention to some of those selections. When it came to TV stuff, I, again, voted for the shows that I liked the best that I think should win. When it came to comic stuff, I voted, when it came to the artist and writer, I voted who I thought most deserved it, more than any of the other categories that were around. When it comes to the GCRN categories, it's like, how can you not let a bias go along, especially for me, where I am on 10, 20 different shows on the network, and it's like, oh God, how am I going to pick between Powers of Grayskull and Showtime Synergy, or how am I going to pick between The Pullbag and M-Wire, how am I going to pick between this or that? And I honestly don't even, and I'm sure Steve could tell me, I don't want him to, but I'm sure he could. I honestly, at this point, don't even remember what I selected for half of that stuff at this point. Steve, you got that vote total yet?
Yeah, there were 166 voters.
Wow.
Overall.
That's awesome.
Which, again, was more than last year.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing when we do these giant events, whether it's this or whether it's a top 100, whether it's a wars, whether it's a whatever, each year that we do one or two or however many we end up doing throughout the year, we get more and more exposure. And when this has happened for the last almost 7 years now, we've gotten a hell of a lot more exposure going on and on and on the way we have been the last few years than we have in the first year that we were online, obviously. So this goes to show you, the longer you're around, as long as you continue to put out quality content, the people will notice. All right, so I think we're going to take a quick break. You're going to hear some sort of mashup between TV, cartoon, movies, and other things, and we'll come back to have the first category awards revealed after this on the 3rd Annual GCRN Awards here on Geekcast Radio.
I'm just trying to make my city a better place.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive.
Actually, if you don't mind, it's just the doctor. Doesn't even really matter who am I even talking to? Oh yes, you, the wannabe Einstein, mad as the star. Travels through time, but with no clout. Saving the world while you dilly-dally. You can't even invent your way out of Hill Valley. Calm down, will you? Everything is going to be fine. You're not gonna tear any wonky holes in any fabric of space and time. Actually, it's a lot more like a rug, really. Oh, never mind. Let's just say there's an infinite number of me simultaneously kicking your ass with rhyme.
Great Scott, you're great! Not. I spit it hard and generate way more power than 1.2
21 gigawatts. I'm not sure what sort of scientific authority you purport to be, but I'm a real doctor. Where'd you get your degree? Despite all your companions, you couldn't be having less sex. I don't know which lamer, your fans or your special effects. You don't get another turn to debate. Time to face your permanent fate. Now, lick my balls!
No. I'm Ant-Man. I know. Wasn't my idea.
Chewie, we're home.
I guarantee you that at some point, everything's gonna go south on you.
Ready?
And you're gonna say, this is it. This is how I end.
Commander, Mark is dead. We have to go now.
Now you can either accept that, or you can get to work. This will come as quite a shock to my crewmates, and to NASA, and to the entire world. But I'm still alive.
Boo! Pick a plot line!
Back here on the 3rd Annual GCRN Awards. And Steve, what is the first category and nominees that we're going to reveal?
Well, the first category that we will review is is the best TV drama. The candidates were Better Call Saul, Downton Abbey, Fargo, Mr. Robot, and The Blacklist. And the winner was Mr. Robot.
DJ Valentine will be happy about that.
Not too surprising. I mean, I know that was a huge hit this summer, and I watched the first, I think, few episodes. I then I got rid of cable, so I lost USA. But I loved what I saw, and I know it got huge praise from a lot of people, and it was quite unique, especially for a USA Network show. It was really different for them. So I think I voted for in that. I voted for Better Call Saul, but I have no issue with Mr. Robot winning because what I did see was great. So.
Yeah, I think I remember voting for Mr. Robot because that series, like Dan just said, that series is something that you would not expect on the USA Network. I mean, don't get me wrong, the USA Network has had a lot of really cool series before: Burn Notice, White Collar, Covert Affairs, all kinds of. But Mr. Robot basically breaks the mold on the standard USA Network series, and I absolutely loved it. I think where I fell off was episode 8 or 9. Wasn't because I didn't want to watch it, but it was because of something happened where they didn't air it, or I think dumbass president took over all television networks that night for his address or some stupid thing. And then they aired it again at like 1 a.m. and I completely missed it, or it screwed up on my DVR. And I cannot wait until hopefully that series either comes to Netflix or Hulu Plus, because I really will most definitely be seeing that again. Steve, what did you vote on for that category?
Blacklist.
I
Which surprisingly was not even close.
Okay, so what's the difference between each of the nominees as far as the votes go?
Fargo was number 2 by far, and then Mr. Robot was like double of any category.
Wow. All right.
So it was quite interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I have enjoyed The Blacklist for the first 2 seasons. I've seen like the first, I think, 2 episodes of season 3, but again, because like Dan, I no longer have cable television, and The Blacklist is not, next day on Hulu Plus. I mean, it's on NBC's website and that kind of stuff, but honestly, half the time I end up forgetting about it at this point because it's not in my face as much as it used to be when I had cable. All right, what is the next category for the TV stuff?
Up next is the best TV comedy, and the candidates were Big Bang Theory, Last Man Standing, Master of None, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and Silicon Valley. This one was triple.
Oh no!
Of the category. Big Bang Theory.
Really?
Yes. Followed closely by about 2/3 of what Big Bang Theory got was Silicon Valley. Everything else was kind of bottom.
That's somewhat surprising, just because I feel like, I don't know, like I don't really hear a lot of people talk. Big Bang Theory is just kind of just there at this point. It's established, so I kind of get that. But I don't know. For me, out of those shows, I voted for Silicon Valley because I feel it's the strongest category over there. Masters of None it's kind of a comedy, but it's also it's mostly comedy. But that's actually a show that really surprised me. But yeah, I don't know. It's actually a pretty solid category. There's a lot of great TV comedies right now. So
I would almost argue that Big Bang Theory has turned from a comedy to almost of a drama.
It really has. And I've been meaning to talk about this for the longest friggin' time. When we did I think it was last year. I don't know. We did something else about when we did the top 100 television series recently, or the end of 2015. I meant to talk about this. Okay, anyone that's seen the first 2 or 3 seasons of The Big Bang Theory can basically say it's, geek culture making fun of itself, or making more fun of geek culture than really is necessary, or whatever else. But if you watch from, I would say, at least season 5 onward, that show has turned into a full-on character development, character building show with all of the main characters. At this point, for anybody that hasn't seen it, I'm sorry, there are spoilers right here. So if you haven't seen it recently, fast forward about 3 minutes. Recently, in the last 2 or 3 seasons, Leonard and Penny have gotten married. Sheldon and Amy are dating, and Sheldon is actually Sheldon Cooper now is nothing like what Sheldon Cooper was in the first season. Howard and Bernadette got married. Most recently,
all of that aside, the show's changed.
Yeah, it's very much changed.
But
do they still poke fun at pop culture and geek culture and make somewhat really, really bad jokes? Sure, but it's more of a character builder at this point.
I just enjoy the characters. It has nothing to do with the show. The show's not it's not the greatest written thing. But it is enjoyable. So I do get why it's there.
Yeah.
I personally voted for Last Man Standing, but that's because out of these categories, I enjoy Big Bang Theory, but I also enjoy Last Man Standing. But I also like the political pokes that are in the show too. So that's why I watch it.
Cool.
Any other comments on this category?
Nope.
Okay. So the best TV sci-fi was between the contenders of Ash vs. Evil Dead, Man in High Castle, Supernatural, Walking Dead, and Doctor Who. I will say that this year it happened to actually have the only one that's returning, I think, from last year is Supernatural, I believe. Walking Dead may have been there, but I know Doctor Who wasn't. Which we got crap for, but again, it wasn't us that put it in the vote.
Yeah.
So it funny enough made it in there this year, which is great. The Ash vs. Evil Dead, I know that's fairly new as well.
That came out last year, I think, didn't it?
It came out around the time of that movie, and then they made a 2-season show on some channel. I think it's Showtime or something.
It's on Stars. It just came out last year.
Oh, Stars.
Yeah.
Okay. I personally voted for Supernatural, but Doctor Who won it.
Really? Because I know, I'm hearing mostly from people that I know love Doctor Who that they were not the biggest fans of the last season overall. The overall opinion towards Doctor Who's last season was mild at best. I didn't hear a lot of great praise for it. So I voted for The Man in High Castle, which I thought. And it's an Amazon series, which was excellent. I could see maybe why people didn't vote for best science fiction series, because on its face, it doesn't necessarily seem like a science fiction show, but it takes place in this parallel universe where World War II had a different result, but it's an excellent show. Maybe not necessarily sci-fi in the sense of a Doctor Who, but Yeah, I mean, I guess I think what you're seeing with Big Bang Theory winning and Doctor Who winning, it's more so people voting over shows they're general fans of rather than actually looking at the season as a whole and comparing it to like what that show did in 2015. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, speaking of two shows I don't really watch, so
yeah, I don't even think I voted in that category. I don't remember. I
like I said, I voted Supernatural.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of.
Yeah. But yeah, Doctor Who had over half the votes, but I think that's because of our Doctor Who syndicated podcast that
Yes, Mark
flooded the market, as it were.
Mark Who 42, yep.
Yep. So, moving on, we have the best action adventure. And the contenders in this category were Arrow, Daredevil, The Flash, Black Sails, and Hawaii Five-0.
Okay, I've never seen Black Sails. I've seen a few episodes of Hawaii Five-0 and nothing recent. I've seen like the first few episodes of the first season, and I guess it's an action adventure. I mean, I don't know. I think I voted for Daredevil in this instance because Arrow is just so hit and miss. It really is. That show goes week to week whether I enjoy it or whether I can't stand it. It just depends on what kind of stunts, and I don't mean the actual stunt work, but what kind of stupid DC tie-in stunts.
What gimmick?
The Oracle gimmick. That whole the week with the Oracle thing. Oh my God, just. Ugh. But no, Daredevil completely. Oh, that show. Season 2 is coming, folks, March 18th, and I'm probably going to spend March 16th and 17th rewatching Season 1 to get prepared for it.
So what show won this category?
The show that won the category, and it was close. I mean, close.
How close?
3 votes.
Wow.
The Flash.
Whoa. Dang.
Guess who was number 2?
Daredevil.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I figured.
It literally was 3 votes. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
I know a lot of people have dismissed The Flash. Some people have. A lot of people in the circle that I go around have not, obviously. It's easily the best CW superhero show that they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
That is a standalone hero show that's not a team-up show. Because Arrow is kind of Team Arrow, and then Legends of Tomorrow had just started, and that's kind of a team show. But Flash has just turned into this emotionally crazy roller coaster ride through the Speed Force, and it is just epic how they pull that show off.
Yeah, I like Flash a lot. It's a fun show. I don't think it's even on the same level as Daredevil, acting-wise, storytelling-wise. When it comes to just the... Like, to me, Daredevil, like, what it was able to accomplish, I mean, from its fight choreography to the performances were, it's, movie level. Some of the best stuff Marvel did, bar none. Where Flash was just, it's a good show, it's fun, but I don't think it necessarily has the weight of a show like Daredevil, which it shouldn't because it's not along the same tones. And like Mike, I think Arrow is hit and miss at best. Black Sails, I've not really caught up a lot with, and Hawaii Five-0, that was a random choice, but hey, I guess there's some love for it out there.
I blame Kevin for that, because Kevin Optimus Soul loves that show. Okay, so the differences between Flash and Daredevil really quick, and then we can move on. Daredevil is, and this is why when people ask me to rank the superhero shows that I watch, I put Daredevil on a whole separate page, because it's a Netflix show. It's not like, I can't compare it along with the broadcast shows, because the broadcast shows have to fit a formula for broadcast. They have to fit into these molds. And the thing with The Flash is, it started out as somewhat a villain of the week kind of thing from the very first season. And then, as I think by episode maybe 14 or 15 is when they really started to bring in the whole storyline and bring in the whole end of the season. And then it continues now through season 2. With Daredevil, you got 1 day and 26 episodes in 1 day, and again, you're right, Dan, with the difference in tonal shift with, I mean, Daredevil is dark. It's gritty. It's it has more room to breathe than with Flash because it doesn't have to worry about commercial breaks. Flash does.
Yeah, but there are shows that Walking Dead is a network show and deals with commercial breaks. I don't necessarily think that. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, certainly with a Netflix show, you have more freedom in what you can do. You don't have to cater to the CW audience, so you don't have to throw in romance that makes no sense because that's what people expect, or you don't have to throw in filler episodes or make stories longer than they should be, or things like that. So but ultimately, even beyond that, what your format your show is on, whatever network your show is on. Acting is good acting, and there's great acting on network shows. There's great acting on Netflix shows, and not necessarily that the actors on Flash are bad. They're great. There's some really strong and really great actors and really seasoned actors there. It's just that it's Flash is it's bubblegum fun. It's a show that's not necessarily going for the same type of things that Daredevil is.
Yeah. Well,
which is fine, but I just think that when I'm looking at quality and overall. Looking at everything that makes the show great, I think Daredevil has it, and Flash has elements of it, but not to the same extent.
The CW definitely rubs off on the Flash. Is part of what I think people don't like about it. And whereas Daredevil is kind of its own thing, and I don't disagree. Like, I may not care for the show of Daredevil itself, but I can't disagree that the way it's shot and everything all the way around is more well-rounded than any of the other superhero shows. By far, the Netflix stuff is better than any of Marvel's other stuff on any other station, and meaning ABC. But no, I mean, I definitely think that out of all if there was another superhero show to go against Daredevil, the Flash would be about the only contender.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Flash is probably I would put number 2, so I have no issue with it winning. I think they're both great at accomplishing what they set out to do, and we can both agree they're all better than Arrow. So there you go.
Yeah. But anything's better than Gotham. Next up, Steve.
Watch season 2, you'll change your mind.
I don't know. They're bringing back the fish, so as soon as they bring her back,
there's a gimmick to it. Just you got to watch season 2. It's better than season 1. I almost killed myself during season 1, and then it got better after I watched the DVD around the time that season 2 was airing. So, then it makes sense. It's kind of like Arrow season 1. Didn't like it. The best new show of 2015. Our contenders were Ash vs. Evil Dead, Daredevil, Mr. Robot, Master of None, and Supergirl. Want to take a gander at which one this might have been?
Daredevil.
You are correct. It was Daredevil. I thought for a minute there that Supergirl was going to win, and it was winning. Minus 1 vote.
So Daredevil only won by 1 vote.
Yes,
that's insane to me.
And followed closely behind Supergirl was it was a vote down from that. And it was Mr. Robot.
Interesting.
See, okay, so we already talked about Daredevil. We already talked about Mr. Robot. I got to talk about Supergirl here because I haven't really talked about it a lot since it premiered. It's a good show. It's a show that's finding its legs. It's a show that in its first season, at this point, we're coming up on the 14th, 15th, 16th episodes of the season. By that time, it found its legs more than Gotham did in season 1. Supergirl is more enjoyable. Again, like Dan said before, with Daredevil and Flash, it's more of a tone thing. Gotham is this dark, gritty thing, and obviously the Superman universe, the Supergirl universe is supposed to be bright and kind of fun and whatever else. And I really dig Supergirl. I think it's interesting with where they're going with it, and I like how they're able to twist a lot of these Superman stories to turn them into stories for her for the show. Episode a couple weeks ago they did For the Girl Who Has Everything. and they brought in the Black Mercy plant, which is basically the plant that basically gives you, knocks you into the. They did this in Justice League Unlimited with Starro. They made Starro think everyone was in a dream kind of thing and whatever else. So I really dig Supergirl. It's better than a lot of people give it credit for.
It's not doing that well because they're going to have the Flash crossover with it. It's a ratings thing.
Yeah, well, they got to do some. Well, that's exactly why the Flash and Arrow crossover, because Arrow needs some sort of ratings boost.
I think its ratings are actually better than Flash and Arrow,
God,
but it's just considering the fact that it's a CBS show, so the expectations for what CBS has for ratings is higher. So I do not think it's like last in its time slot on Mondays, but I watched the first episode and I wasn't really a big fan, so I figured I would just wait till it hit Netflix and catch it then, or what have you. But
see, people always, it's a CBS show. It's not but it may be on CBS, but it's not your standard CBS show. It really does.
It feels like a CW show on CBS.
It should be on the CW because of the fact that it's a Greg Berlanti show, and all of Greg's other shows.
They didn't want it though. CW didn't want another superhero show.
Yeah.
They already had 3.
Yeah.
What I meant by CW, it's a CBS show, was that with that, there's more. CBS is going to have higher standards,
expectations. Absolutely, yeah.
When it comes to ratings, not that it's doing bad. I think it's doing pretty well, but not to they have
not to their normal standards of show.
Yeah, they have the highest rating shows on the planet, which tells you everything about who watches TV. That's another story.
What's next, Steve?
Best returning show.
Oh boy.
Contender for this is Fargo, Game of Thrones, The Flash, The Blacklist, and The Walking Dead.
It's going to be a 2-way tie, or it's going to be a one or two votes off between Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, because those two fan bases are rabid.
No, it's probably The Flash.
Dan nailed it on the head.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Flash won.
Wow.
Yep.
By how much?
About 10 votes.
What was second?
Game of Thrones.
And Walking Dead was third, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Not the last season, but the first half of the most recent season definitely, I think, annoyed a lot of Walking Dead fans. For those that saw it, basically, I'll just say the dumpster aspect of it. So and then that's where we're voting, so that could have affected Walking Dead. But Flash is huge. I think I don't really hear much negative things about the Flash, so I'm not too surprised.
So, are we saying that The Walking Dead have the zombies jumped the shark yet?
No, because the last 2 episodes have been great. So
okay,
I've heard, and because I don't watch the show all that much, that this season they're really trying to change things up.
It's going pretty straightforward with the comic so far. And especially the mid-season premiere was pretty in line with the comic. It's spreading the story out a little bit longer than the comic did, but it's kind of headed. And then they announced a character called Negan who's showing up for next season, which is a pretty big deal for Walking Dead. But no, it's a different direction, but it's still staying within the framework that it's always been, where it takes elements from the comic and changes things here and there, but the spirit is pretty much the same.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. Next up,
we enter the animation cartoons category. And the best new cartoon, the contenders are F is for Family. Mind you, I've never heard of that one, but...
It's a Bill Burr show on Netflix, which only reason I knew that is because I saw it was nominated. I'm like, what is this thing? So I looked it up on Google, and it's actually quite funny. So,
Guardians of the Galaxy, Transformers: Robots in Disguise, not the 1999 or 2001 version.
The 2015,
It's the continuation of Transformers Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And Inspector Gadget. Now, Transformers: Robots in Disguise, I equate to being a Transformers version of Pokemon.
Is that a good thing or
because they got to catch them all?
Well, the main storyline for the first season is they have to catch all the escaped Decepticon criminals.
Oh, there you go.
And they're still doing that. So, so the winner by a landslide is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I've seen the first episode. I have not seen beyond that. I want to. It's not that I don't want to do it. I have not had the time with everything else that I'm working on right now to check it out. But I did check out the first episode of the series, and I gotta say, you gotta get. I mean, we all know Kevin Michael Richardson is a voice acting god, but basically putting his own spin on Vin Diesel's Groot was amazing. Even though he only says 3 words. Transformers robots in this. I'm waiting to see what season 2 does. Season 1 was cool and good. I think at this point the comic is more fun for me. The current IDW version comic that they're doing for that show.
I just watched episode 1 of season 2 before we jumped on, and it's not in the same vein as season 1.
That's good.
But I wouldn't say I totally enjoyed it either. It's a 2-parter. So, gotta wait for the second part before I can comment. But I haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy, but I keep forgetting that it's there.
Yeah, that's my same problem. I don't have the channel it's on either, which is another issue. So it's on
I don't either.
One of those crazy 18 Disney channels, so it's hard to
figure. It's the Toon Disney or Disney XD or something. But yeah. The best returning cartoon, the contenders were Archer, Bob's Burgers, Ricky and Morty, TMNT, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for those that don't know, or Star Wars Rebels.
I see. I don't know about this because I know Rick and Morty has a huge following. I don't know how much a huge following Bob's Burgers has, but
I would say probably about the same. They're all pretty strong contenders, I would argue.
I'm probably going to guess Star Wars just because it's Star Wars.
I'll go, I don't, yeah, I'm thinking Star Wars too.
Then you would be correct. Star Wars Rebels, I've been watching TMNT, but I haven't seen the latest season. Bob's Burgers and Rick and Morty, just the animation doesn't appeal to me. Archer, I've just never seen. Most of these, all of these, I don't have any of the channels to. I have to obtain Rebels and TMNT. But I do enjoy everything I've watched of Rebels thus far.
I've seen, they have, I don't know, because I don't watch the show generally, but I've seen whatever they call Archer Nocturnal Emissions or Nocturnal Mission, whatever the hell the one that airs on FX at midnight to 1 a.m. or whatever it is. I had seen that 1 or 2 times, and everyone sings Archer's praises, how good it is, but I don't know what it is. I just can't get into the series.
I actually just started watching them not too long ago. I actually quite like Archer. I've only watched a few episodes of Star Wars Rebels, but I was actually pretty impressed by it. I thought it's kind of staying in the same vein as Clone Wars and continuing that pretty well. I've only watched a little bit of Turtles, so I can't really comment. I have a hard time getting into CG animation when it comes to cartoons for some reason. I like the TV animated cartoons.
With Turtles, we had the 3rd season, and we had the whole shift up because Jason Biggs either got fired or whatever else, and Seth Green came in and is the new voice of Leonardo. So there was that whole shift with season 3. By the end of the 3rd season, they had this big old battle, and then season 4, they did what Turtles always do: they go to space, and they go to other dimensions. No, I'm not saying it as a bad thing.
That is true.
I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm saying it as a blanket statement. That's what happens ever since '87. That's what has happened in '87, 2003, and now 2012.
So is that what they're going to do in the 3rd movie then? I think going to space.
Turtles in space.
I don't know.
Probably. They've already got the Technodrome and Krang in the 2nd one.
Yeah, I don't know. Season 4, from what I've seen the first 2 episodes of season 4 of Turtles. It's good. It's something different. And honestly, after 3 seasons of fighting Krang and fighting Shredder and doing the whole thing with Karai and all that and everything else, I'm kind of glad at this point that they're giving us other aspects of the TMNT universe. But yeah, I'm behind on Turtles as well.
So, getting into the next category, we get into video games. And for the best new release category, we have Batman Arkham Knight, Fallout 4, Metal Gear, Star Wars Battlefront, and Transformers Devastation.
Which Metal Gear? Metal Gear Solid 5?
Whatever the newest one is. That just says Metal Gear.
All of them. Just all of them.
I don't think we could do that.
I'm going to assume it was Fallout.
I don't know.
There's going to be a theme this episode.
Transformers.
And it's the nostalgia is strong with this one.
Transformers Devastation.
Or is it Star
No,
Wars?
it ain't that kind of nostalgia. It has to do with something that's hot.
I'm guessing Star Wars?
Yeah.
Yes. Battlefront.
Interesting. Wow, the one game on there that I've actually played. So, there you go.
Didn't I hear a whole bunch of things about people saying that Battlefront wasn't that great?
It's
people that play Battlefield say that it's not great.
It's a very it's like a general audience game. It's not meant for like hardcore gamers, so I could definitely see that. And it's not even like I play a little. I don't know when I played it actually at Greg's house from talking in circles, and there's not a huge amount to it. So if you're one of those people that like sinks like years into a game, I could see why it wouldn't be all that enjoyable. It's just kind of like something you play with friends here and there. It's not like Steve mentioned like a serious first person shooter or anything. It's pretty light and lightweight, I guess you would call it. But they know it's Star Wars, so it doesn't really matter because they can just make a basic game and it's going to sell well.
They could slap the Star Wars name on a coat hanger and everyone would buy it.
They sell Star Wars oranges. They can do anything. Yeah. So
Next up,
we have the best console, and the contenders were between the PC, the PlayStation 4, the 360, and the Xbox One. Why the 360's on there, I don't know.
I was gonna say that's not a.
People voted for it. That's
not
why
a new console.
It was supposed to be new, and then for whatever reason, people kept putting 360. So, doesn't really matter. The PlayStation 4 won this one, and the close second was the PC because you can rebuild them.
How fall Xbox has fallen. So
Xbox One was close to PC actually.
Yeah.
One vote difference, but yeah. So getting into comics, since there's not really much to talk about on the console front.
Yeah.
We have the best storyline, and it's between the following. We have Batman, Robin Hood from
Xenoscope. Yep.
Xenoscope, Darkseid War, Vader Down, and Secret Wars.
I've been meaning to read Vader Down. I just haven't. I'm so far behind on the Star Wars stuff. I haven't even read the first arc in the main Star Wars ongoing with Marvel. I just haven't. I read up to issue 9 or 10 of the Darth Vader series. What was the other ones, Steve?
It was Vader Down, Secret Wars, Darkseid War, Robin Hood, Batman.
Yeah. Robin Hood is something that Steve and I spent a whole month on last year, reviewing the first 3 trades of the series, the first storyline of it. Xenoscope does the grim fairy tale stories, basically. They take the general character and make their own universe out of them, and they've done an excellent job, and Robin Hood is no exception. Instead of a male character, they make her female, and they make her some child of darkness, destiny kind of thing, but it is really, really cool how they spin that out. Marvel and Secret Wars, again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Marvel. Kind of not sorry, Marvel, but I read that Free Comic Book Day issue last year, and I'm just like, who the hell are all these characters? I was so lost with the Free Comic Book Day issue last year. I don't know. What was or Dan, did you have anything you wanted to
I'll wait till we get the actual winner to respond.
It was Batman.
Interesting. I voted for, out of that list, I voted for Secret Wars because to me it's the best major Marvel event story they've done probably since Civil War. Jonathan Hickman, I think, it's a story that's been building for really years since he started the New Avengers run a couple years ago, and it really kind of took hold. And it was just maybe there were delays, so maybe it took a little bit longer, but it was an epic story, and it at the heart of it ended up being this really showing how Hickman really understands the character of Doom and Richards, and it was a good launching off point for this new Marvel somewhat universe. The Batman last year was quite good though. At Endgame and the new Batman, seeing Gordon take up that reign, I thought was going to be awful, but ended up actually being rather interesting in how they embraced that role. So, and Darkseid War was surprisingly really good too. I think that's one that kind of got overshadowed last year a little bit, maybe because of just the turmoil that was DC in 2015. But that one is coming in hardcover, I think, next month. I would check it out because it was actually quite good. And it was gorgeous to look at as well. So.
I did read Endgame, and I did read the first couple issues of the Gordon run. Endgame was great. Endgame was the Joker story that Death in the Family should have been. I've said this before over in the pull bag. Outside of Court of Owls, Scott Snyder's run for me has been pretty anticlimactic up until Endgame. But yeah, I don't know. I can't wait to see what Tom King does with the title.
Yeah, I don't really have a personal preference on this one because I don't care. I didn't care for much as Snyder's run of Batman after Death of the Family, so I've not.
Well, Zero Year kind of sucked the life out of it for us mostly.
For you guys. I think Snyder's been one of the best writers of Batman in quite a long time.
I
personally didn't care for it. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right. I
know. And it's not necessarily his writing style that makes me not enjoy it, but the whole 0 year thing was, it was, hey, so when the New 52 launched, they did all the 0 issues, and they gave somewhat origins of each of the characters. So they had a Batman 0 issue, and now, fast forward 2 arcs later, they're going to do 0 year, go back and create this 5 year before, 5 or 6 years in the past thing, and to give him this whole origin that apparently he never, quote unquote, had before. That's what I don't like about 0 year, is the whole timing thing of it, and I think Steve has agreed with this.
I had an issue when they rebooted the New 52. It really didn't have anything to do with Snyder. It just happened to do with the fact that their timeline that they created didn't mesh with what they were trying to
accomplish,
say. Yeah. Well, the fact that the old continuity still took place despite the fact that Batman had only been Batman for 5 years. That's what I didn't like with it. It had nothing to do with Snyder.
Yeah, and that stuff really doesn't mean anything to me, to be honest with you. The continuity issues, they kind of reset. It was weird what DC did with the New 52, but at the end of the day, the New 52 actually was a huge benefit for them for at least the first few years. And yeah, did it screw up things continuity wise, and did it make sense? And no, and that's why they had the rebirth storylines for Flash and Green Lantern, and trying to kind of reset those characters in some way, and it doesn't make things make no sense 100%. But at the end of the day, it's that stuff doesn't really matter to me. To me, it's ultimately the story you're telling needs to be good. And as long as it is, I'm happy with it. Like how things fit for 4 years ago into some made-up universe timeline history that doesn't really exist. I mean, as long as it's not too confusing. But I think it's gotten to the point now where it has been super confusing because you have something like Titans Hunt, which is also bringing back Teen Titans into the universe that weren't there before. So it's been kind of crazy. But anyways, what's the next award?
The next category of the event are Best New Series. And the contenders for this are Darth Vader, Long Distance, Secret Wars, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, that's almost a tongue twister, Black Canary.
Oh.
I'm going to continue the theme and say maybe it was Darth Vader.
It's either Darth Vader or Secret Wars, because I seriously doubt anybody besides me and a few others have read Long Distance.
It was Darth Vader. And about 7 votes difference below that was Secret Wars.
Darth Vader's, I like it, but it's too, like, it should have been, to me, it should have been a miniseries. And Vader Down did re-energize it. That's it. That was a fun series. It wasn't phenomenal. It was just kind of a cool seeing these things, all these different characters come together in this like insane situation. But I think Darth Vader is a character that it's hard to tell great stories with him because he's such a, you can only develop him so much as a character, So that's the challenge. But
the way that Gillen set him up as Kieran Gillen, I think that's how you say it. Kieran Gillen is the writer on that. The way he set him up in the first issue, basically it's after the defeat at Yavin and before Empire, and so it's that middle ground there. It's like what we never got to know between the two movies. I think he set it up really well. I think he introduced some really awesome new characters in 000 and oh god, it's not
the 2 killer assassins.
Yeah, but I know, but I'm trying to God, what is the evil R2 name? BT1, that's what it is. I was stupid soccer ball BB8 bullcrap. So I think he set it up well. For me, because Dan has actually taken over doing written reviews for Vader, at least issue number 10 you did, or 11, I forget which number it was. But I originally was writing reviews on geekcastradio.com for Darth Vader. I made it up to, I think, issue 7 or 8. The problem I had with the writing on that series was issue 4 and 5 felt completely different, and not in a good way. It felt like it was a complete disconnect for me than what happened in the first 3 issues. And then issue 6, it got back on track. Issue 7, it was kind of back on track. And then issue 8, it kind of like fell off again. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Is somebody ghostwriting for Gillen, or is somebody is somebody mind controlling him, or is somebody force choking him? What the hell's going on? Because it just felt really inconsistent from issue to issue after the first 3. I don't know why.
Yeah, I never got the inconsistency feel. I just felt story-wise it lacked direction at times because it was so pigeonholed into this very specific timeline. Yeah. And the new characters introduced were fine, but they got kind of repetitive. I felt like there wasn't them two. They were like, he understands the voice of Darth Vader really well, and like you see that especially when in the most recent issue of Darth Vader in Vader Down. But when it comes to trying to like find stories to tell, what you need in a comic, it's hard to when you're super limited on time and you're super limited on a character that you can't change him a great deal from where we left him in Star Wars to Empire, because he has to stay somewhat consistent. So you have to put these other characters around him and try to tell a story there. And it's okay, but it like I said, I think it would have been better off if they limited it to like 6 issues or 12 issues, but that can change in the second arc. But as of right now, it's running on fumes a little bit.
And see, that's what I originally thought it was. When they started announcing all the character arcs or the character comics, because they had Darth Vader was the first, then there was Leia, then there was Chewie, and then there was Lando, and I don't know what else is coming, but originally I thought Vader was just going to be a 6-issue arc. I didn't think it was going to be anything longer than that, and then it kept going and going and going.
Then it sold really well, so let's keep this going.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I did enjoy at the time when I was reading it, and I do have plans to cover it in the pullback eventually, but I don't know. As far as Secret Wars, Dan, you can talk about Secret Wars all day. I just not.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the first issue, like after this first issue, the second issue of Secret Wars, it's a completely new story. So like what came before doesn't necessarily really matter. It just becomes this hodgepodge of a world where it's like kind of insane in a way, where you have each section, which is this battle world where you have, Days of Future Past world taking over here. You have Marvel zombies over here, but within that craziness, like I love Hickman as a writer. I always compare him to Christopher Nolan because he has stories that, like, and for so very much they are thematically rich, and some, especially for like a huge summer event story. But they're also like kind of emotionally distant, where there's almost a coldness to them, which works well when your center character is Doom and Reed Richards. And it all, to me, like, really came ahead in its final issue, and I don't want to give away, but it you know, if this is the final Fantastic Four story as it's being built up to be, I think it leads them off, you know, one of the most iconic teams in the history of Marvel Comics at a very great note. So I would definitely recommend it. Like, probably pick it up in trade. And like I said, if you don't understand the first issue, don't worry. Yeah. After the first issue, things completely change and go to a different direction.
I will say really quickly, because I've read it God knows how many times, the other series that was on the ballot here, Long Distance. It's a creator-owned series by Tom Zoller through IDW. It's essentially about two people in a long-distance relationship. It's not your average comic. It's not a superhero comic, but it is very much a geeky comic because they are both kind of geeks. The guy in it, Carter, he's an artist. The girl in it, she's a future rocket scientist kind of thing. And it basically just talks about them going back and forth and just the whole thing of being in a long-distance relationship. And to me, it really related to me personally, but it's not going to relate to everybody. But at least give it a shot. So, what's up next, Steve?
Best continuing series. And of course, some of these are going to play a role again. We have Batman, Saga, TMNT, Star Wars, and Miss Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to keep the Star Wars train going?
You would be correct.
Really?
Although followed close here was Batman.
What the? Where did TMNT come in?
It was the bastard child of the group.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Saga was pretty close to it, though.
What is wrong with you people? If you have ever been a TMNT fan, you need to check this out.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Yeah, we know.
Seriously. Seriously. Because, I was very skeptical about this. You know, this is IDW, this is Turtles. I was very skeptical about this series for one reason. I've never read the original comics. I came from the original cartoon series and the movie. So I'm used to the color-coded bandanas. I've never cared for the all-red everything bandana. And as soon as I started reading the series way back when, almost 5 years ago at this point, and I saw the red bandanas, I'm like, oh, no, please don't tell. And my buddy Joe, who reviews it with me on the pull bag, is like, no, don't worry about it. There's an explanation. It's good. You'll like it. I've been reading this series for 4.5, 5 years. I've been covering it on the pull bag for 2.5, 3 years at this point. And everything they've done, it's a love letter to the entire TMNT franchise. It really is.
Yeah, I've read that, and it's a good series. But honestly, out of that list, there's Saga, and then everything else is a distant second. Saga right now has been the most consistent book in comics, bar none. It's a whole new level when it comes to science fiction, fantasy storying. And for everyone that voted for Star Wars, if you love Star Wars, read Saga. It's a great space opera, brilliantly told and gorgeous to look at. Fiona Staples her artwork is just breathtaking, and it's a lot of fun and funny. So that to me is what should have won. But like I said, I think we're sensing a theme when it comes to tonight's awards. So,
damn galaxies. Next is
Best Artist.
Okay.
And the contenders were Esad Ribic. Okay. Tom Zoller, Greg Capullo, Stuart Immonen, Fiona Staples.
Man. Well, Stuart Immonen did do Star Wars a little bit last year, so I'll go with him. He did a few issues of Star Wars.
It's either going to be Capello or Staples, probably.
It was Capello.
Yeah, figures.
Staples was close. Was second.
Greg Capullo, yeah, his work is, I mean, it's amazing. He's a great artist, so it's a pretty solid group there. So, yeah, I voted for Staples. Actually, I voted for Esad Rubik mostly. I don't even remember who I voted for. Honestly. It might have been it probably was Esad Rubik mostly for his work in Secret Wars, but Eminem, his work is always like he put him on the book. The book automatically comes better. He fixed a lot of the issues I had with Star Wars. If you know Staples, she has Saga, but she also did some of the first issues of Archie last year, and that got me into reading an Archie comic for the first time in my life. So that says a lot, and it was actually quite good. And I was in Capullo, he's gonna go down as one of the best Batman artists ever, at least of this generation. And I don't know who the other person was, but
Tom Zoller he's the creator of Long Distance.
Okay.
He also did Love and Capes. You guys probably, well, I don't know about Dan. Steve, you'd probably like Love and Capes. It's a superhero situation comedy. It's really, really funny. He also works with IDW as a writer and artist on some of the My Little Pony stuff as well.
Very cool. All right. What do we got next?
The next one is Best Writer.
Mm-hmm.
And we get down to the contenders of Brian K. Vaughan, Scott Snyder, Tom Waltz, Jonathan Hickman, and Jason Aaron.
Man, I'll go Miss Snyder because if Capullo won, I guess his partner in crime, Snyder, is also going to win.
I'm hoping Waltz because he does amazing stuff on TMNT, but I doubt it.
You both lose.
Oh.
It was Brian K. Vaughan.
Wow. Nice. He had a great year last year. He had Saga, of course, which has been great. Paper Girls, which is crazy, like 80s genre story. And also We Stand Our Ground, which was like 3 really different comics, really great for different ways. So yeah, Brian K. Vaughan is an amazing writer. So, but they're all pretty good.
He won that by 2 votes.
Wow.
Really?
From
Who was
Snyder.
second?
From Snyder.
Yep. Snyder was winning the entire time, and then all of a sudden, Brian K. Vaughan came in out of nowhere.
He called in some of his friends, I guess.
He called in those minions of his.
There you go.
So the next one is Best Overall Publisher. And obviously there's the contenders of DC, IDW, Image, Marvel, and Zenescope.
I'll say Image.
I'm hoping Zenescope, but I doubt it.
Zenescope only got 3 votes.
Oh! Zenescope, get on that next year.
It was Marvel.
Yeah.
We can guess why.
Yeah, I mean they do have this
Star Wars.
Star Wars and
yeah, they did have Star Wars. They did have 80% of sales last year. It was something crazy like that, 60%. But I don't know. To me, Marvel had a pretty good year last year, but I think Image is on another. They're putting out great stuff. A lot of the indie series, even like IDW to Boom to a lot of it's actually like a golden age for indie comics. But yeah, Marvel's still a juggernaut.
It's turning into that. Where did DC fall?
Second.
Ugh.
Image
Really?
is third.
I find that I find surprising. But well, I guess not too surprising. It's DC.
Yeah. So moving into the film category, we have Best Performance, which because of the amount of votes in all of these on the round that we're nominating them, I put more than 5. I put 7.
Okay.
So we have Brie Larson in Room, Charlize Theron and Mad Max Fury Road, Daisy Ridley in The Force Awakens, Harrison Ford in The Force Awakens, Matt Damon in The Martian, Fassbender and Steve Jobs, and Sam Jackson in Hateful Eight.
So which Star Wars category won? Or nomination won?
Oh, you mean actor?
Yeah.
Daisy Ridley.
Yeah. She was great in that. So. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was probably one of the best newcomers to the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the definition of a star-making performance. So, I voted for Matt Damon in The Martian because it was my favorite movie last year, and I thought Damon was fantastic. He was Damon being Damon, but Matt Damon.
He was great in that movie. Yeah. He was second place though.
Really, I didn't expect him to be second. I guess I assumed Harrison Ford would be second. Grumpy old day Harrison Ford.
Chewie, we're home. I broke my foot. Damn Falcon. But yeah, Matt Damon won second. I was actually kind of surprised that he didn't take it because like he was taking it for a while and then she kind of blew up there. So, and I think that it if it were less splintered, it probably would have been higher for either one of them. But again, I think that it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with where it landed. Best animated film, and the contenders for that are Home, Inside Out, Minions, Anomalisa, and The Good Dinosaur.
I think it's pretty obvious. I'm gonna go with Inside Out. I think it's probably crushed that category.
I loved three of the movies. I've not seen the other two. I don't know. What was it, Steve?
Inside Out destroyed this category. Minions was second though, but it was only half the votes of Inside Out.
Where did Home fall?
Third.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, those three movies, Minions, Home, and Inside Out. I would put Minions at third place, Home at second, and Inside Out at number one for me personally. I liked Minions. I thought it was good. I thought it was a nice little prequel, kind of in the vein of Monsters
University.
Yeah, thank you. Because it butts right up to the first film very well. Usually when prequels are done, sometimes they don't really do that great of a job of coming up to what is supposed to happen in the first film, but that one does very well. Home was a nice little piece of animated cinema with a whole friend, what it is like to be a friend. I would say it's not as good as, I'm not going to sit here and say it is as good as, but it's essentially, you've got a friend. It's essentially this generation's Toy Story for me personally, because it's basically showing the dealings of friendship between O and Tip. And it's friggin' Sheldon, people. It's Sheldon as an alien. We have all known Sheldon Cooper as an alien. And Inside Out. Inside Out is something Pixar has needed for years at this point. Inside Out put them back on the map.
Yeah, and then
you're saying an original property?
Yeah. Oh, well, okay, well, original property, yes.
Not a sequel?
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm saying as far as original property, as far as not necessarily an original idea, but the way of exploring an original idea, as far as exploring your emotions. And I mean, come on, Lewis Black as anger. How can you get better than that?
Yeah, it's an excellent film. So no, I think it's well deserving and the clear cut winner in that case. So.
Mm-hmm. Next up.
So we have the best comic film, and there were only 3 in this category.
Surprisingly, Fantastic Four did not get a nomination.
Thank God.
That is funny. It didn't. Not even one. Because I would have had to put it in there if it did. Yeah. There's only 3 in this category. Avengers, Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, and Kingsman: The Secret Service, which I did not know was a comic at the time until I was looking it up to verify that it was correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was a comic because I had heard Millar's name thrown around.
Every comic that Mark Millar writes now has to become a movie, I think. I think it's like a role he has with the devil. So.
That the guy did Kick-Ass?
He did Kick-Ass, he did Wanted, he's done a bunch of stuff. So
okay.
I'm hoping it's Kingsman because Age of Ultron was okay. It was not as good as the first Avengers movie.
I enjoyed Kingsman more out of the 3, but
right.
I just because it was absurd, but it was funny and it had action, so it was great. And it wasn't like being too serious because it kept making the James Bond jokes.
Yeah. This isn't that kind of movie.
Yeah. It was Age of Ultron.
Oh, God. Come on, people. Seriously. Even I know Ant-Man was better than Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron, it's a okay, decent film. And while I love
it was good, but it wasn't as good as what the people's
I think what happens is it's unfairly going to get compared to the original, and I think it's one that actually I went back and rewatched it again, and I think it definitely went up on a rewatch. And there's a lot. I think it's fairly going to be people wanting that same experience they had with the first one, which you can't replicate really. Which I'm hoping people don't have the same experience with Episode 8. But I agree. I voted for Kingsman as well, but I think the hate on Age of Ultron has gone a little bit too far, where it's kind of like people seem to like the overall, when it came out, people were happy with it, but as months have gone down, somehow the movies got worse and worse and worse in people's mind, and I don't know if it's really fair. It certainly has its issues and it's problematic, but I don't know. I think there's still a lot of good stuff that it has. It's just not, it's. I think it's maybe the fact that it's a case of diminishing returns. But I still would put Ultron above Ant-Man. I liked Ant-Man, but it was, they're about even, I guess.
About rinse repeat formula.
With Ultron, I don't hate it. I really don't. But the first half of the movie, well, I'll say this, the first probably 2/3 of the movie, up until the point where you get the reveal or the point where you get to the point where you realize, oh, hey, that's what happened to Jarvis. For me, when I watched it, I'm like, okay, I like this. I don't know where they're going with this. Oh, there's James Spader as Ultron. He's awesome. As we all know, James Spader is awesome in everything he does. But on a rewatch, it didn't go up a notch for me. Not the first half of the movie. It didn't. It just felt like it felt like they were phoning it in until they revealed the whole Vision thing. Once they revealed Vision and he was in the movie, it was awesome. I loved it. But Kingsman on a whole, from beginning to end, was super enjoyable.
Yeah, I don't know. I think before that, you still have the Hulkbuster fight, which was really well done. You have, I think, the farm sequence, which I think is actually quite good and underrated, and the initial sequence on Baron von the Baron, I can't forget his name.
Baron von Strucker.
Baron von Strucker's. I thought that was well handled. But the party afterwards was fun. There's some problems with it. Like, I think Quicksilver is kind of a forgettable character and here and there, especially compared to
the way he was in
Days of Future Past, which is again kind of the negative aspect of it. But I don't know. Like, I think all three of these movies are good, and I don't think there's much separation between the two. But like I said, I agree that I voted for Kingsman as well, because I do agree that it's probably the most complete out of all the three films.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the next category, we have Best Overall Film, which includes Age of Ultron, Fury Road, Room, The Force Awakens, and The Martian.
There's no contest.
Yeah. It's Room, right? That's what.
Yeah, we all know what this answer is.
It's The Force Awakens. We all know.
Was Mad Max second?
No, Age of Ultron.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
that's sad.
Actually, no, they were tied.
Oh, dang!
Avengers and Fury Road were tied.
When people need to watch Fury Road, and I voted for The Martian because I loved it, but I don't know. To me, I get it. It's Star Wars. It was a fun film. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So moving on, because we've talked Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is Best Special Effects. Contenders are Ant-Man, Age of Ultron, Ex Machina, Fury Road, and The Force Awakens.
Star Wars, hands down. As much as I loved the special effects that I saw in Ant-Man and how cool that was, overall, it has to be The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Yeah, this award needs to go to Mad Max, because what it did was so much, either Mad Max or Ex Machina, because what Mad Max did was putting an onus back on practical effects, combining those with that of CGI. It was so well handled and masterfully done. Star Wars was Star Wars. It looked great, but on just a directorial standpoint, on like just the creativity when it came to special effects, because special effects does not just mean CGI, it means incorporates everything. Mad Max was so much better than anything else that came out last year. And Ex Machina, for a movie that cost like $15 to make, what it was able to do with its special effects was freaking insane.
$15 to make. I'm sure it cost a little bit more than that.
Compared to Star Wars, it probably had the catering budget of Star Wars. But it's both excellent. But yeah, again, I think it's people seeing Star Wars and voting for Star Wars. But
so
next,
yeah, I think we can safely move on to this category. Best drama. This is where things start to get switched. Until there's another category with The Force Awakens. We have Creed, Room, Spotlight, The Martian, and Revenant. The Revenant.
Wait, Room. What the hell is Room? Because all I can think of is that stupid horror movie, The Room.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different.
Made the mistake of putting the in there to begin with, and
The Room is
correct.
It's just came out to DVD starring Brie Larson. It's hard to explain, but basically it's a story about. It centers on a mother and her child. It's really good. It was just nominated for best picture, so should be hitting Redbox soon.
It's probably The Martian, honestly, for this one.
I would say The Martian or The Revenant.
It was The Martian.
Nice. See, Golden Globes. It's not a comedy.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure how that fit into the category, but it was a drama and it was funny, but it was more drama than anything else.
Yeah, it was certainly had its levity, and it was it used humor in a great deal, but ultimately it's not it's I would say it's more dramatic than it is comedic, but yeah, it's good. I love The Martian. It's Ridley Scott making great movies again, which is good to see.
Yep.
So, yep, that's what I voted to. So, best comedy.
The Martian.
It's between. That's funny. It's between Ant-Man, Spy, which The Martian, Trainwreck, and We Do What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows.
Or What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah, I misread it. I liked Spy, but that was because it had Jason Statham. I hate him normally, but the fact that he was making fun of every film he's ever been in, with all of his lines and his absurdness, and Melissa McCarthy in it, fighting back to his comments, was just hilarious. The two of them worked great in that film, but the winner in this category was Ant-Man.
Interesting. Spy, I agree. I thought Spy was a pleasant surprise. That was quite good. I voted for What We Do in the Shadows because it is freaking hilarious. I'm glad it got nominated, honestly, because it was this really small film, a mockumentary about vampires, which sounds awful, I know, but it's really funny. I think it's streaming some places now to check it out. But Ant-Man was certainly humorous. I think that's what kind of sold it. But yeah.
Yep. Any other thoughts on this one?
No.
Best sci-fi film. Ant-Man, Ex Machina, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, The Martian, and Chappie.
Star Wars, move on.
It was Star Wars.
Yeah.
I've seen Chappie. It was pretty decent. And obviously The Martian was good, so.
Yeah, I think I voted for that or Ex Machina, which are both good. Because, again, I wanted to try to spread out the love and not give everything to Star Wars. But, hey, I get it. People love their Star Wars.
Yeah, I gave a lot of stuff to The Martian just because I enjoyed the movie. I watched it, in prep kind of thing.
Yeah, it's good.
I still haven't seen Ex Machina. It does appeal to my tastes. I just haven't seen it yet. But I have seen Chappie too, which was okay, and I liked it overall, but I didn't like the entire movie as a whole. So
yeah, it was problematic for sure. So,
best action adventure:
Star Wars. Move on.
Furious 7, Mad Max Fury Road, Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, Cicero, and The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And it was The Force Awakens.
Okay, I want to know
what got second in that, because that's really what we should have awarded to.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, if we eliminated Star Wars, then it would have been Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, I think that's rightfully the best action movie of last year.
I would kind of argue that as well, because Star Wars was more of a sci-fi drama than an action film.
Yeah. I would argue for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, because
it was third.
I would still argue it to win, because that was... No. It's... The way they did that movie was...
It's the way they do all of them.
No, I actually I agree with... Well,
way
Mad Max better, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, but the way that they produced and filmed and did the story for Rogue Nation, it is meant to be something that follows the 66 television series. It's meant to be something that it's not it's not like Mission 3 or Mission 4. It's nothing like that. They reference the entire franchise, because last year is 1 year away from the 20th anniversary of the first film. But the way they did the mystery in that movie, the way they did the villain in that movie, the way that they did all of the special effects was just so great. And not just because I've interviewed the guy, but Joe Kramer composing that music was absolutely amazing. So that's what I would pick to win if we were not including Star Wars.
Yeah, I liked Rogue Nation a lot too. It had some really a great variety of different action sequences. From one of the best sequences in that actually was the opera scene.
Yep,
that was phenomenal. And you always had Tom Cruise being crazy Tom Cruise and hanging off the side of a plane, but also you had an amazing motorcycle chase and underwater stunts. The Mission Impossible series has gotten better as it's come. My favorite's still 4, but Rogue Nation was right up there to me. It's probably right after Ghost Protocol. But
yeah.
So, switching gears, we're getting into the Geekcast Radio Network Awards.
Star Wars.
No.
We don't have a Star Wars podcast. If we did, I'm sure it would destroy the rest of the network.
Don't even think about it, people. Just don't.
We're not doing a Star Wars podcast.
No.
You can listen to little segments.
You can listen to all 10 hours of Star Wars content we've done between MWire and GCR over the last 7 years.
And all the other shows.
Yeah.
Core podcasts. Geekcast Radio, Altered Geek, Talking in Circles, The Pull Bag, and Cinema Geeks. Obviously, we're all biased, so we voted for our own shows.
It's probably Talking in Circles, honestly, because that's the one that gets the most comments half the time.
I'll go Geekcast Radio because it's the one that has has the most people on it. I don't know.
I will say Cinema Geeks and Talking in Circles tied for second place.
Oh, wow.
Geekcast Radio did win.
Wow. That's surprising.
But it's the podcast with all the special events. You have the awards, you have the top lists, you have the top 100s. So it kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, since there's not much to...
Okay, now I have to ask. Did my show beat yours, or did your show beat my show?
My show beat your show.
Fucking
hell. I was quite pleased, at least, with that. So, I beat you by 2 votes. So, I was happy with that.
That's
review podcasts.
Okay.
We have All Things Transformers.
Uh-huh.
Future Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Pixels in the Animation.
Right.
Powers of Grayskull, and Showtime Synergy.
Okay, so Future Imperfect is essentially dead.
It still got 13 votes.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I think it was still the bottom of the network, but on that category. The winner was Pixels in the Animation.
Really?
Yes.
That surprises me. Because last year...
It was the only one to break 20.
Really?
Yes.
That's surprising, because last year Powers of Grayskull won, and I thought this year...
It was actually second from the bottom.
Oh, you're gonna have to send me that list, because that's...
And ATTF was in the middle. I was happy. So.
Wait, don't tell me the bottom was Showtime Synergy.
No, that was actually second place.
Oh, thank God. Well, see,
Oh, be quiet. Most of your shows are in there.
I know.
Anyway, so.
What I'm saying is that everyone should know by now. I'm the one that does all the review shows for the most part. The specific, lengthy, in-depth review shows, and Steve has done a lot of them with me, and Michael Wilson and Kevin has a few times as well. But last year, Powers of Grayskull won, and I thought this year it was going to be a fight between Powers of Grayskull and Showtime Synergy, which, for those that don't know, Powers of Grayskull is the He-Man, Masters of the Universe, She-Ra franchise show, and Showtime Synergy, obviously, is the Gem podcast. So I thought it was going to be those two fighting it out for number one. But the fact that Pixels and Animation won is just sheer luck, because we hadn't had episodes for about 2.5, 3 months.
What's funny is it shows people have an interest in video games.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Leave it right there. So, getting into the next category of our partner podcasts, we had Hunnick Outcast, In Session Film, Mark Who 42, Star Joe's, and Geek Scholars.
I'd say either Mark Who or In Session.
You would be correct. In Session won second place.
Mark Who 42 won first.
Mark Who 42, I will say that the game is so rigged in their favor. And I say this because, and it irritates the crap out of me, because this happened last year too, and the year before that. Their listeners come in, vote for only Mark Who 42.
Yeah, people...
And then they leave.
Yeah, see, okay, this is something we need to figure... I don't know if we can figure out a way to do this on the website or not. People, please, when you go to do the fill-ins or the voting thing for our awards...
Well, I could make it required that they have to fill out the rest of them, but that's kind of a dick move, because if you don't know of any of those things in those categories, you're just voting for whatever you want just to get to the one you want. So it's going to throw the entire thing anyway. So, I mean, I could have easily removed them, but it would have been a bias on my
I'm not saying remove them. I'm saying... If
I just let them... it's kind of a dick move that they didn't vote for anything else, but...
Well, okay, Here's the thing. Anyone, not just the Mark Who 42 listeners, not just their staffers, whatever. Anybody that comes to our website around January that goes in to fill out the ballots or goes in to vote in February or whatever, you should fill out the whole form. I'm sure all of our audience knows movies, all of our audience knows TV, knows something about comics or something about video games. I'm not saying you have to fill out every single piece. I didn't fill out every single piece, but at least I filled out 75% of the thing. Or maybe 80, I don't know.
Yeah, there's no real way to
no, I know, but I'm saying that...
But yeah, it was 82 to... the next lowest one was In Session, and that was like 28. So
Mark Who 42 now has a 2-year reigning championship for the best syndicated show.
Yeah.
What's on Joe Mind? Where are you guys? Come on.
They fell asleep.
Apparently,
they didn't even get on the original ballot because I think they got wrote in twice, and then like everybody else dwarfed them in that. So it's all right. Geek Scholars got 4 votes. So. GCRN Special Events.
Oh boy.
Was the contenders between the awards, the Wars tournaments, even though that's Wars, but it's still a special. Top 100 countdowns and the top 10s.
See, we didn't do, outside of what Dan does with top 5s and top 10s, we didn't do a lot of top 10s on GCR last year.
But they still happened. So.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we did top 10s, or the only time we've done top 10s was... when we did the movie stuff way back when. But anyway, the winner is...
Top 100.
Figured.
Next year, there'll be some extra things to fly in that category.
Yeah, 50s and 30s and 70s and
It would be ironic if the award show won a award for best.
What's funny is it was second place, but it still was like 2/3 of the votes of the top 100.
Yeah.
What wins the awards? The awards. What are you talking about? No, the awards.
Oscars win an Emmy. You're like, how? All right, whatever. That doesn't matter.
I guess it just kind of flies that way. And then, of course, we're moving to the non-GCRN, which is the bottom half of the awards ceremony here. And we get into our favorite review podcast / video podcast. And the contenders are Talking About My Generation, Epic Voice Guy, John Bailey, Epic Voice, Epic Movie Trailer Voice, Now Playing Podcast, Simplistic Reviews, and Real Films Podcast.
I'm probably going to guess Now Playing because they dominate everything, but I don't know if they could win since they essentially make everybody pay for their content half the time. I'm so not a fan of that show at all. But second place guess would probably be Simplistic.
Any thoughts, Dan?
Well, I don't know. I listen to Now Playing, and it's not cost me anything, so I don't know. But I would probably say Now Playing as well because they have a huge fan base and they've been around forever, and it's a good podcast. I enjoy it, but I don't really or I love Simplistic Reviews, but Now Playing is like a juggernaut. So,
well, Simplistic Reviews took it home.
Nice.
Nice.
DJ, be happy. He was worried that he was becoming the bridesmaid and never the bride. So
oh no, they had the highest votes. It doubled the second place.
Nice, awesome.
Second,
and the second place was Now Playing.
Now Playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was quite interesting to see that pop up in that particular order. Real Films was third place, and fourth place was the Talking About My Generation. So, moving on to the next category, we have favorite podcast, video podcast. Contenders are the Batcave Podcast, How Did This Get Made, True Bromance Film Podcast, The Weekly Planet, and WTF with Mark Maron.
Let's say either WTF or How Did This Get Made?
I don't even know. I don't listen to any of them or watch any of them.
I don't listen to any of them either, but that the fans spoke. True Bromance took it.
Really? Nice.
Yes, at number one. And with a close second was How Did This Get Made, followed by a close third of that is What the F with Mark Maron.
Yeah, that's like WTF with Mark Maron is probably looked at as one of the best podcasts ever, and rightfully so. It's it's insanely good. And How Did This Get Made is freaking hilarious. It's it's one of the best shows. But True Bromance also great podcast. We actually had on both Hyro and Barry on Cinema Geekcast this past year. So glad to see both them and Simplistic Reviews representing.
Mm-hmm.
And getting to our second from the last final category, we have favorite YouTube channel. And the contenders are Optibotimus, The Warp Zone, The Black Nerd, Screen Junkies, and Brizzy Voices.
It's gonna come between Black Nerd and Screen Junkies probably.
I have no idea because I'm old and don't watch YouTube videos, like except for unless it's like Crazy Cat videos. That's pretty much it.
Wow, you are old.
Remember Stupid Video and Albino Black Sheep and I still watch that stupid dancing cat video from E-Bomb's World.
God.
From back in the day. I show that to my kids and they think it's hilarious. They're like, cats, I'm the kitty cat. And I dance. But yeah, it's old as hell. Anyways, the winner for this one is Screen Junkies.
Mm-hmm.
To begin with, Optibotimus was taking it like to the bank to begin with. And then his Loaded Army freezed their their asses back in the category. So he got second place, but Screen Junkies got first place there. So, moving into the final category of the night, we have favorite YouTube series. And we have Cinema Sins, The Nostalgia Critic, Honest Trailers, Epic Rap Battles of History, and How It Should Have Ended.
As long as it's not Cinema Sins, I'll be happy.
I'm betting it's Nostalgia Critic or Epic Rap Battles.
And winning again this year is Epic Rap Battles of History.
That's okay.
Is that still going on? I don't even know if that's still...
Yeah, they're still going on. They're on break right now, getting ready to start season 5. They came out with one around Christmas of Deadpool versus Boba Fett.
Well, there you go.
Which is hilarious. I love this series. That's one of my favorites. Along with I love the Honest Trailers too, and How It Should Have Ended, which is really funny because it's animated. Much like I like Screen Junkies and the Warp Zone too, but yeah, the Epic Rap Battles, I was kind of happy that they took it. You know, them or How It Should Have Ended, I was in favor of. How It Should Have Ended, it was actually number 2, second place, and then followed by Honest Trailers. So, Cinema Sins was actually the bottom one.
There you go. I just don't like Cinema Sins because I feel just so nitpicky and just awful, but whatever.
Oh, I know. I was watching one the other day, and I was like, wow, they're nitpicking over every little detail.
Yeah, it's
like it's a movie.
Yeah, and it's to the point where I feel like I don't know. It's like everything I hate about internet criticism. So that's like
obsessive compulsive that
and the idea of the inability to read a logic within a film and understand that, like, you know, movies, like their issues can often be explained throughout the film, and sometimes the problems are actually more so on them than the actual movie. And even for movies that, like, I think that aren't that great, I think they're just like, they pick on easy targets. I feel like they're never gonna, like, it's just, I don't know. Like, what I love about Honest Trailers is that, like, I love, like, their Guardians of the Galaxy one, because they're like, yeah, this movie's just really good, but we're gonna try to find things, and they made a joke of it. But I feel Cinema Sins is it's building itself up by taking other people down, which is, to me, kind of garbage. And
whereas, like, Honest Trailers is more so poking fun at itself while it's poking fun at the film.
Yeah, it's done, I think, with more of a
love for the material.
It's not as cynical, and that's kind of what I don't like about Cinema Sins.
I can see that. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with how most of this landed. I think that there was definitely a bias in Star Wars' side.
A little bit. Maybe next year we'll have to have Star Wars awards and then everything else.
Yeah, well, next year we're probably gonna have a superhero awards and then everything else, because otherwise, because of the.
But at least that's more dynamic, though.
Well, I'm thinking because, you know, you've got a lot of these, I don't know, huge franchise films. You've got
Suicide Squad,
you've got Daredevil, Suicide Squad, Captain America. You've got Batman v Superman. You've got X-Men Apocalypse. You know those are for sure going to show up on it. Plus TMNT 2. Then you're going to have Gambit and Doctor Strange, and then Rogue One, and then Star Trek Beyond. Like, a bunch of these films are going to all show up in this thing next year.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
And it's going to be pretty much like this year, except there'll be some other contenders to possibly knock some rockers off each other. But yeah, I mean,
there could be surprise movies. Like, I think The Martian was a pretty big surprise for me. There could be some more of that for next year. I mean, you also have Jason Bourne, the new Bourne film.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's 2016. I think actually has a lot going for it. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it pans out.
I'm hoping next year that the list is a lot more diverse.
Yeah,
in the selections of the winnings, just because we'll have that big palette of different kinds of films coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I do plan on seeing a lot of movies. I've kind of it's I don't know if it's because I'm running low on films or because I get bored watching the same ones that I've seen because I remember them all, or because I'm taking media classes. But I definitely find with doing like screenwriting and a lot of these media classes, I tend to branch out more to watch other films I wouldn't normally watch. Like for instance, like I watched Gravity after all the hype died down of it, just to see for myself whether I liked it or not. I watched like The Martian. I watched Happy. Like normally these type of films I wouldn't have given the time of day. The Martian I probably would have anyway because I like Matt Damon. Yeah, so I'm more of an actor watcher. Like if I like the actor, I'll watch whatever they're in. But if I'm not, I won't seek it out. So I mean, I've been trying to branch out this year and this last year. So I'm thinking I'm gonna definitely try and do that again this year.
A lot of films nowadays, and Dana's talked about this before, but there's a lot of things coming out, and a lot of interest. And for me personally, it's just too expensive to go to the movies every single time. And there are certain franchises that I will go to a movie for, but even now, I'm more so just willing to just wait and just wait till it hits Netflix or Redbox or Hulu or whatever streaming service you use, so the evil trolls don't email us and say, "Oh, hey, we like this one over that, whatever." But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've so moved away from movie watching. I really, really have. I mean, I would rather go back and watch movies that I haven't seen in so many years than try to keep up with the current generation of film.
Yeah, I mean, I would go to movies if I had unfortunately had the time. Just having a kid now, it's not as easy as just going up and leaving. But yeah, I'm just learning to become more patient, and honestly, it does save a great deal of money. And then freaking like one thing is like utilizing free services like Netflix to, I mean, no, they're not free, but even like the local library, which I'm like, this past weekend I picked up and watched some movies I haven't watched yet and didn't have to pay anything for them. And it's kind of it's interesting. I'm in this new dynamic where I used to see everything in the theaters, so that by the time it came out on DVD and Blu-ray, I've already saw it. But now it's like I actually can go to Redbox and see a movie that I haven't seen yet. It's a new, it's a different dynamic for me. But
it's like a new adventure every week.
Yep, yeah. Exactly. So 2016 is going to make it hard because I do plan on seeing some of those tentpole films and some of the I love the Bourne franchise, so I'm gonna try to do everything I can to watch that when it's out. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and make my way out to see Bourne, Batman v Superman. I've already seen Deadpool and I saw The Force Awakens when it came out. I plan on seeing hopefully TMNT and Star Trek Beyond, because I've seen every Star Trek movie in the theater since Generations came out, so I want to keep that trend going. But even though I'm not that enthused, of course I'm more enthused because it's not the same writing staff, so it might be better. I'm kind of, it's going to be a sticky situation trying to figure out movies because, unfortunately, that means that my wife has to stay behind and have to see with somebody else. Because that's what happened with Deadpool and Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm lucky. My wife had no interest in Deadpool, so I was like, I can go by myself at a Saturday morning screening and not have to.
I saw it with my brother. We went on an afternoon, so it was quite great.
Very cool. Alrighty.
But yeah, so I think that concludes the GCRN Awards for this year. And if you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions to change it for next year, or about the winners and contenders in the winning list, leave comments below.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to do it for us. You can find me on Twitter at TFJoandMike. Dan, what is your Twitter?
I am at MovieRevolt.
Steve?
At SCP-21.
Unleash the geek in you, and we will catch you next time for the top 9 of the 90s.
Sheldon? Sheldon? Sheldon?
I bet that started off as a joke, but by the third one you realized there was something strangely enjoyable about it.
I kind of want to do it again.
You forgot two very important words.
Have mercy.
No.
How rude. Cut it out!
You've just listened to Geekcast Radio on the Geekcast Radio Network. There are several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. First, visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on all of our different podcasts. Second, you can rate our show and leave us feedback in iTunes. Third, follow us on Twitter at Geekcast Radio. Fourth, become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/GeekcastRadio. Call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for and your name. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.